Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Scoop on K-State, a show about K-State's journey to become the next-gen land-grant university, featuring insights and stories from Wildcats leading the way. I'm your host, Adam Walker, President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association. Today, I'm pleased to welcome K-State's First Lady, Sally Linton.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be great. And I already told the president this is going to be better than his.
That's right.
And he agreed.
All righty.
All right. So, Sally, it's such a pleasure to have you here. You wear many hats other than just being First Lady. Your wife, mother, entrepreneur, passionate advocate for others, and dedicated to helping others. And one of the roles, you serve as co-chair of the Committee for Health Promoting University. Mm-hmm. And this initiative began at K-State after the Okanagan Charter that guides universities embodying health into their culture. Can you tell us more about how this supports the next-gen K-State strategic plan?
Yeah, so the Health Promoting University Initiative, we're a year into it, and the concept is to support staff, faculty, and students, in addition to really the entire state, since being the land grant institution, representing all the communities. So it's about enhancing health and well-being, and in my perspective, a big part of it is finding balance and figuring out how can we be most efficient and productive because we're taking time for ourselves to be the best version of us.
Yeah, and it's so important today if you think about life outside of, the class, because it gets very hectic. So it's such an important aspect of the students' lives.
Yeah, and I mean everybody's lives, right? Even as employees and staff, and our world is running at such a fast pace. Like just taking time to figure out, okay, how can we balance this out so we don't run into burnout? Mm-hmm. Really important.
For our listeners who may not be familiar with the Okanagan Charter, we can maybe kind of talk about that and its significance.
Yeah, so K-State was the first university in Kansas to sign on to the charters, and we're the 22nd university in the United States to sign on. And a part of that, too, is a conglomerate of 200 universities that are a part of a health promoting network, and we're also involved in that. So essentially, it's to think about the health and sustainability of people, place, and planet. So it's all encompassing, not just on campus, but how are we living that in the communities and throughout the state. And we've implemented several things already that are working towards that health promoting aspect. So we had the Wildcat Pause Day last year to take a Friday to just kind of pause and take time to either catch up or rest or whatever you needed to do to feel like you could progress in the rest of the semester. PowerCat Financial does some amazing financial support for students because we all know that a big part of well-being is being balanced in all aspects of our lives. And if we don't understand how to run our financials, we're not in a good place.
Yeah.
And then one that I was involved in personally and got a lot out of was Cats Connect. And they'll group you with other people on campus that you might not have ever met, and you meet over a course of several weeks just for some fun discussions and laughter, and it connects you in a deeper way to other people on campus. And that was a great experience.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting. You presented to the Board of Regents, not too long ago, a couple months ago, talking about all those initiatives. And I didn't realize how many there are on campus.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How many students are involved. And I think you talked about it, the amount of students that feel stress, whether it be financial or health, well-being.
It's a huge issue right now, the loneliness factor. So interestingly, they're calling it the most connected, loneliest generation. So they feel connected, but it's a different type of connection. And I think post-COVID, from a university perspective, if we can help get people involved, get them out, because being connected is the most important factor from a health aspect. So it is more important than not smoking,
Interesting.
alcohol, not working out. Like the biggest factor is connection.
Connection, belonging, feel like they have
Yeah.
somebody that cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
it
see
can
that.
change your entire well-being.
And it's so interesting. You said it well with the social media, the technology. You can feel so connected, but also at the same time disconnected.
Yeah.
That's
And we're
important.
living that, right? We're
Yeah.
parents with
Yeah.
teens that have grown up with
We
that.
see it.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this initiative clearly plays a vital role in achieving our vision setting, the standard for inspirational learning, creativity, discovery, engagement that transforms the lives in Kansas and worldwide. And we're grateful for your leadership in this area. Thank you for what
Thank
you're
you.
doing. I'd like to take a little bit to learn more about you.
Okay.
You've got an interesting personal story. So what are your driving forces and motivations? And maybe talk about what you've been involved in, what you're passionate about, your
Yeah.
background.
So it's taken me a long time to get to where I'm at in my own journey, but I can tell you what I have discovered drives me is actually helping others and watching them grow and change. And it fits in really great in what I get to do at the university. And then also my personal business is I am an ADHD life coach and work with people all over the United States on really kind of uncovering who they are and discovering their strengths and helping them become the best version of themselves, similar to the HPU part that I'm involved in. I love it.
Yeah.
So it's very motivating to me. It pumps me up and energizes me when I see somebody else say, oh, like, I'm a good person. I can do this.
Yeah. And it's neat, that you live that on campus too. You actually have such a small support group that you invite over to your residents.
I do. So
Yeah.
we do I have an undergraduate coaching hangout, and every Monday afternoon they come over. We've expanded it because they wanted more time, which is a good thing. So 3:00 on Mondays we do a power hour. So it's body doubling. Have you ever heard of body doubling?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's where people with ADHD have a really hard time accomplishing non-preferred tasks. So we get together, and because we body double off of each other, everybody just works for an hour on stuff they need to knock out, but it's hard to do it on their own.
Nice.
And body doubling is great in any environment from a study perspective. So that's from 3 to 4, and then 4 to 5, we do a coaching hangout, which initially started as me leading a lot of it from a open-ended question perspective, but now it's so cool to see they really are coaching each other.
That is so neat that
Yeah.
you do that and take
It's
that
awesome.
time out of personally, because I know your schedule, is crazy busy.
I love it though. Like
Yeah.
that's one of my most favorite things of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe just mention real briefly how busy you and the president are. I was talking to Brett, who runs and coordinates.
Our amazing event coordinator.
Yes. And talk about, there's weeks you guys have 6, 7 dinners,
Yeah.
4 or 5 lunches. I mean, it's incredible. I think
Yeah.
200 dinners or
Well,
events.
we did 100 events in the fall semester
100
at the
events
house.
At the house.
So that didn't include, any
Right.
other events and things
Yeah,
we
at
were
the
involved
Union or
in.
Alumni Center, but 100 events just at your
At the
residence.
house.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Which poor Brett, but he did an incredible job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's a huge commitment. But I think that's where Rich and I are both passionate about supporting the university and the people and the stakeholders. And our hope was in the residents, that's the university's home. And our hope is for people to come in and actually feel like they could hang out, which is cool to see. Like when the students come on Mondays, the very first time, I think they were really nervous to come to the president's residence.
Yeah.
And now they walk in, it's like hanging out like they're at their own house. And I love that.
So can I share the secret at the end of the night?
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been there. So when you go to the president's residence and you're invited over, when it's time to leave is when the dogs come out.
The dogs
And
are
I've been
released.
there. Yep. So I had
In
to
a
take
good
a
way.
hint. I'd take a hint. Yeah.
They're friendly dogs.
I think it was about 10:30, and it was like, okay,
Yep.
let the dogs out. That's time for
Yeah.
to wind on down.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So
And
it's
it's a
funny.
nice transition out of the house. You get a little loving from the dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of dogs and running, that's the way I de-stress. So maybe talking about, what strategy you manage daily stress since your lives are so busy.
Yeah. So kudos to you, by the way. How many days in a row outside?
Oh, it's, I think 1,500 or so days. Yeah.
That's
a little over.
amazing.
Yeah.
Especially, this week with the negatives.
Yeah. It's been cold.
Yeah.
Been a
Your
cold
Darth
month.
Vader pictures,
Yes.
all covered up.
Well, we were talking about that. You have to bundle up. We've seen that across campus the last couple of months. So
Yeah.
it's a way for me, to de-stress. That's my de-stress every day. Is I get out and run at least a mile every day. But what do you do, or what do you see that you encourage students to do to de-stress?
So very similar to you. And, thinking about the health promoting university thing again, one of the themes is exercise is medicine. And to me, exercise is a core part of every day. So I am in super cold weather down on the treadmill, and then yoga and Pilates. And then 3 days a week, I actually am now doing a weightlifting class with some women in town. And so it's getting me that connection piece, which is nice. And but the mindfulness, the exercise are things I prioritize every single day. So I heard something last year, and it kind of changed how I thought about all this, was instead of prioritizing your schedule, right, just prioritizing what is in the books, you need to schedule your priorities first.
Yeah.
So every day, that's a non-negotiable for me, because it makes me a better person. And it makes me function better when I'm with everybody else.
I think that's a good point that people need to realize. Take time out of their day to intentionally do something that makes them better. It could be reading. It could be walking, running.
Yeah.
Could be, anything.
Whatever, it could be cooking,
Yeah.
whatever works for you. But I think when we take that time, to fill our own cup, we're better people to be able to offer it to everybody else at work, at home, and that's the whole well-being, vision, right?
And that's where I think it transcends not only to students, but you talked about faculty, staff, making sure that they take time so they can be better and serve and support themselves and their families, but K-State as well. It's
for
really
sure.
important.
And even thinking about, you have meetings 4 hours a day. Well, which of those meetings can you take outside and actually walk and talk? Because the science shows us that our brain and body work better when we're moving, and we'll actually retain more information. So there are so many positives about the thought of even walking for a meeting.
Yeah, and we need to do that more. The Alumni Center is right next to the track.
It's perfect.
Which, when it's a nice day, not yet, but maybe in the spring.
I do it in the summer.
Yeah.
I do laps around the track in the morning.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
So, you've been here a little over 3 years.
Uh-huh.
What stands out to you, your time here? Maybe some moments that you've enjoyed at K-State.
What I think is different here than the other campuses that we've been a part of is the student experience is really top notch. The way the faculty and staff truly, truly want to help these students as they launch into their own lives. And over the last couple of years, I think we've seen, Rich and I have noticed more interaction on campus, more students outside. One of my favorite things we do is we do it for faculty and staff, and then we also do it for students at a separate time, is the food truck rodeo in the front yard.
Yeah.
And so it's a free lunch from the food trucks and photo booth, and Willie's there, and Rich and I just get to walk around and talk to everybody. And from the faculty and staff side, thank them for everything that they do to make this place as great as it is. And then from the student side, just to learn about their experience and see where they're going.
Yeah, that's been a big hit at the President's Residence that you have usually in the fall.
Yeah.
And we do events that, thank this, throughout the year, but that's been a big hit.
Yeah.
That they get to come over, eat some food, and just
it's fun.
take some time.
Who doesn't like free food, right?
Yeah, free food,
Yeah.
great lemonade.
Yeah.
So speaking of food, this is one of my favorite part of the podcast.
Great.
We get to talk about Call Hall ice cream and what you chose. So what did you choose for our dessert today?
So I chose the espresso, I think it's ecstasy is what they named it. Coffee ice cream, I love it. I'm a chocolate person. I have a chocolate cupboard at the residence that I keep stash just for myself. So chocolate and coffee are my go-tos.
Yeah, I love it. Well, that, cherry chocolate crunch, the President's Choice.
Yep.
Very good.
It is good. It's
And
very
that's what I
good.
love about Call Hall. There's always different ice creams.
Oh, yeah.
They've got the standards, the Purple Pride and whatnot, but
And
there's
you don't have
always
to
some.
pick the same thing every time, right?
Yep.
It can depend on your mood for the day.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. So, Sally, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Really appreciate everything you do, and you're just marvelous in your role, not only as
you.
First Lady, but advocate for all students and staff. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. That wraps up another episode of The Scoop on K-State. I'm Adam Walker, President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association. I want to thank you for watching and listening to the show. Until next time, be sure to share this podcast with your friends and family. Select that follow button on your podcast so you never miss another episode. On behalf of the K-State Alumni Association staff, we're proud to be your connection to campus. We value and appreciate your ongoing support and membership. If you're not currently a member, please consider joining. And of course, Sally, go
Go
Cats.
Cats.